everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to our Service Learning Symposium. My name is Abbie Gould, and I will be your moderator for today. I am a senior communication and media studies major with minors in graphic design and community action and social change. I've been in the service learning program ever since my freshman year, and I am excited to be here today. Our first set of speakers is from Marin City. Suzanne is an intern for the Marin City EDJE and Archival Project for Performing Stars, and she's going to explain her work there and the history behind this community as well.
Hey y'all, my name is Suzanne Blunk. I will be graduating this year with a master's in humanities. What you're looking at behind me is actually a picture of the inside of the community archives at Performing Stars, a nonprofit organization residing in Marin City. Inside this room, organizer and director and founder Felicia Gaston has accumulated 33 plus years of archives, everything from CDs, tape cassettes, VHSs, DVDs, jewelry, photographs, wardrobes, suitcases, and a ton of newspaper articles, as well as personal handwritten letters and even some stamps. I got involved as a result of Professor Jordan Leeser dropping me an email and saying, hey, I know you love history and I know you love Black history, and I think this might really interest you. As a non-native of California, originally from Kentucky, raised in the Appalachian Mountains, when I got here and started living in Marin County, working in Marin County, I was just certain that I wasn't going to find any Black history due to the predominantly white experience that I was having. Getting to meet Felicia and getting to learn about the project was just really a really beautiful way to finish out my time at Dominican. For a little context, the project that we're working on is really specific to 1942 to 1962. We are gathering newspaper clippings, photographs, and anything else that we can about the experience of living in Marin City during that time, as well as any trials, tribulations, obstacles, and as well as community experience about living in the homes. Marin City was created as a result of labor and work that was needed towards the World War II cause. A ton of folks migrated all the way to California for the work, to work in the shipyards, to produce the ships, to support the World War II effort. And when all of that was said and done, folks decided to stay, having uprooted their entire lives. Some folks coming as far as Shreveport, Louisiana, all the way to California, and decided to remain. The housing that was first built for folks was temporary war housing. And then from there, they started to build low rent tenant buildings and dorms. And eventually there was a goal to move folks out of that and into newer, more affordable housing, some of which are pole homes that you see here. And so we have been working to compile all of this information for the Marin Civic Center exhibit that's happening from August to October. So a little bit of archival appraisal and a little bit of museum curation, which is pretty exciting. This project is near and dear to my heart. As a Black person from Appalachia, I was really excited to dive into this work, learn Black history that I had never heard of before, and build a real appreciation for Marin City. And now Marin County holds a really special place in my heart as a result of that. Community archives and archive appraisal, shout out to Professor Lewis Connect for providing us leadership and guidance on that. I encourage, if you ever get a chance, this is an experience I think everyone should be a part of, whether it's pouring through newspapers or listening to old oral history narratives or being able to tap into old tape cassettes or even VHSs. It's really important work. We've got folks like Felicia who is holding on to that information and caring for that information so that we're able to now use that for research and keep telling the story. I definitely hope that some folks will be around between August and October to be joining for the Legacy of Marin City exhibit. I think it is going to be pretty great. As a reminder, Black history is 365 days of the year, 24/7, and it's everywhere. And I hope that by this project, folks remember American history is Black history. Thanks.
So thank you, Suzanne. Next up, we have Christina, who also completed her service learning with Performing Stars, and she worked with the busing program there.
Hello, everyone. I'm a sophomore majoring in dance and literature, and today I'll be talking about my experiences with Performing Stars. So if you could describe the Marin City community in one word, what would that be? Mercedes, a prominent member of the Marin City community, answered, family. We are all separate people, individuals you might say, but we work together as one unit, and this is what makes the Marin City community so special. We are furthering the legacy and providing support and opportunity for the future generations. My intentions at the start of this year were to push past my comfortability as well as take time to acknowledge and reassess. At the start of this semester, there was a disconnect between what I hoped to achieve and how I plan to get there. It wasn't until I let go of these goals and allowed myself to be present when my eyes were open to the scene in Marin City. I started to know my observations. That began with noticing how different the Marin City community was from the Sausalito neighborhood, only separated by a concrete marker, which was the 580 freeway. I then worked on my relationships with the children as well as the adults that I worked with. From these connections, I was able to personally understand the lay of the land. Through these relationships, I asked questions about the community, and a consistent theme was mutual aid and collectivity. The community of Marin City epitomizes mutual aid. Everyone works together as one. What seriously aided my experience with performing stars was taking that extra step past my comfortability and making conversations with those around me. Likewise, through these conversations, I learned that it's essential to take the time after to critically reflect in order to stay proactive and ethical. In my work towards social justice for the community, I believe that I must be conscious in creating a safe space for individuals to reclaim their identities. I think it is essential to educate myself and acknowledge the educational freedom and privilege I have. While constantly claiming this privilege, it's also extremely important to allow others the opportunity and space to pursue educational freedom, as well as advocating for systemic change, as that is truly the only way that they will be able to pursue freedom. I am full of nothing but appreciation to experience the unconditional love that Marin City has offered me, and in return, I will work towards educational and social empowerment of this community so that they will continue to have hope for their generations. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Christina. And I was also fortunate enough to complete my service learning at Performing Stars. So a little bit of background about my time in the service learning program. It was the very first class I went to my freshman year, and I ended up starting my service learning in Marin City that year in 2019. And I've been in Marin City ever since. I transitioned to Performing Stars last year so I could stay in person after the COVID-19 pandemic. And I have seen the before, during, and after of the mandated school desegregation. So that has been a lot of what I've been researching and studying for my final paper for community action and social change. And I've seen how this year it has taken on a larger role due to the mandated government segregation in Marin City. So Performing Stars has stepped up to fill some of the gaps that have been caused because of this. And so the school district promised funding for Marin City students to now be bused to Sausalito, and they said there would be money for students who need it. The money was put elsewhere, and Performing Stars has stepped up to take on this role. And an interaction that I want to tell you about is one time I was helping pick up the students after school one day, and I rode the bus back with them to Performing Stars. And two children got in a fight on the ride back, and the mothers came down to resolve the issues. And one of the parents said something about the impact that the school desegregation is having on her child. Her child was in multiple fights that day, and she said, "Abbie said I'm okay. He never got into any fights. Here he is constantly fighting, and I'm always up at the school." So the school integration has provided her child with more academic opportunities, but has affected who he is as a person and how he is treating others. He is away from his community that acts as a home to him, and other students have told me about their wishes to return to their previous school as well. And so Performing Stars really represents institutional accountability and genuine allyship from Cultural Humility Principle 3. Performing Stars is working to create institutional accountability for the Marin City Sausalito School District. They are politely holding groups accountable for marginalizing Marin City students, whether it is showing up at school board meetings to fight for the funding they were promised or handling situations on their own. They are ensuring that their students are being represented and receiving the proper academic funding they deserve. Also, from all of their hard work, Felicia has received a $10,000 grant to help her with her programs and what she has stepped up to do this year. Performing Stars is also a genuine ally for their community. As I said, they are consistently showing up to help the students and families that are being impacted by school desegregation. They're taking on extra work to provide transportation and food for them, as well as extracurricular activities. Also, they're working to celebrate the community and its culture. I was fortunate enough to help fill out a form to reclaim the Rosa building, which was one of the original homes for Marin City, and reclaiming it is a huge win for the community. A lot of their businesses have been taken over by chain stores, and so this was a really big win for them because now it's going to be a full-time museum celebrating their history and culture of the community. And from my experience and knowledge in the community, it has only grown tremendously. I am fortunate for this experience with this program, and because of this, I've made sure the company I am working for after graduation values the same ideas of learning from the community around you and immersing yourself in it. I'm excited to use everything I've learned in the service learning program and taking it into my next steps in the working world. So thank you very much. And next up, we have Nicole, who also completed her service learning in Marin City, but she was with a different community partner, Women Helping All People.
My name is Nicole White. I'm a sophomore and I'm a social justice major here at Dominican. And so I have been working with Women Helping All People, which is also located in Marin City. I've been working with their after school program service, which is dedicated to providing Marin City students with adequate education and both emotional and academic support. A relevant course concept that I would like to bring up is institutional racism. This can be defined as racist narratives, practices, and policies that are deeply embedded within institutions, in this case, the school system, that oppress and marginalize people of color and oftentimes restrict access to resources. In this case, with my community partner, I can relate it to the situation or the educational system regarding Bayside MLK. And so for anybody who doesn't know, I'll just provide a little context behind this whole situation. So Bayside Martin Luther King Academy was established to serve K through 8 of the Sausalito Marin City School District. However, in the year 2001, Willow Creek Academy, an affluent charter school, was established. And this ultimately created segregated conditions, as Willow Creek was mainly serving wealthier families and not as many students of color, and Bayside MLK had a majority of students of color. And so according to the 2016 audit, they found that parents from Willow Creek had close ties to the school board, and money was actually being funneled from Bayside MLK into Willow Creek. And this caused Bayside MLK to be underfunded and impacted its conditions. It was under-resourced in many ways. This also created an achievement gap, which was being seen between the two schools. And so my community partner, Women Helping All People, has been a very important backbone for the community over the years. It provided students with support and an adequate education, and it really created aspiration and purpose for the students. Besides being a service learner at Dominican, this has been an opportunity for me to connect with my family and my roots. This community, Marin City, is especially important to me because my dad is from Marin City and a lot of my family lives there. My great aunt Royce, she's a community leader and she actually runs Women Helping All People. So it's really been a great experience to work with her. And I find that my positionality as a biracial Black female working with the community of Marin City has been both an empowering and grounding experience for me. Besides serving the community, it has also served me. I've been able to deepen my connection with my family and learn more about my history. This has also helped me establish more of a sense of who I am and my connection to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. And lastly, from Marin City, we have Professor Lynn Sondag talking about her experience.
Thank you, everyone. Good to be here. I'm not going to talk for very long. Instead, we're going to show a video. I taught this semester honors art fundamentals class, and this class is a combination of honor students and education majors. And in the past, we usually involve partnership with elementary age school children. And this year we had the pleasure of having the performing stars in Marin join us in the classroom as we created artworks for the upcoming Marin City EDJE exhibition.
So after World War II, Black shipyard workers were prevented from buying homes in Marin County. Vera Schultz found the funds to build housing that followed natural surroundings, and Golden Gate Village was completed in 1961.
Great.
I just want to say it was amazing that second and third graders were speaking in front of college kids in this class. They were so truly inspiring. All right, thanks everyone for your time.
Thank you so much for showing us that video. And next up, we have students who worked at our Canal Partners, so Voices de Canal, Canal Alliance, and Next Generation Scholars talking about their experience with their service learning there. So first up is Jennifer Cortez.
Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer Cortez and I'm a senior and majoring in global public health and minoring in CAS. This semester, I took a course with Professor Emily Wu for my capstone, which is what I'm going to be talking about. Throughout my 4 years at Dominican, I've been a service learner at various sites in Canal, ranging from working at an after-school program, food pantry, with the group with Voces de Canal. I have learned so much insight through these programs in Canal, especially speaking with the residents, and has been a huge part in enriching my education. That's why I wanted to base my project here in Canal to learn more. My capstone is about the rising Latinx population and looking at multi-generational housing and Latinx communities in California. Jumping straight to my key findings, and looking at the public health aspect, looking at the numbers, there is an association between multi-generational housing and counties with high percentages of Hispanics and foreign-born. One thing to note is that housing is a part of a total environment which affects humans in the way they feel and behave. And especially in public health, we really emphasize that environment, housing is a reflection of health and how their health is, and it conditions the development of young people and thereby a society and a community. One of the quotes that really resonated when I was doing research is, quote, "The worst enemies include conventional zoning that afford every loophole to developers who airdrop oversized instant slum apartment complexes into formerly single-family neighborhoods, but prevent homeowners themselves from adding legal additions to accommodate relatives," end quote. And this just reflects and present housing trends in the United States are not representative of what people want. Rather, they represent the limited choices people have. And the Latinx have continually used adapted methods to transform their communities and to better suit their needs and to promote social interactions, even in areas where we can see of social inequities. And this is an area where we need to give more space for the communities. And in my interviews with Voces de Canal, one of the main themes was that the Hispanic culture is unity. And most of the Voces de Canal members mentioned that unity is important in their homes. And this is most apparent through their homes, parks, and public spaces. And so really creating a space for them to really have that unity, that social interaction, and to creating more public spaces, more recreational areas. And so through my capstone project, my emphasis is to address these Latinx cultural values in housing. It's important cultural values that I see being Latina and seeing that in my culture and at home, but it also allows me, especially this year, my positionality, especially being a researcher this year, and the privilege in graduating in May in 2 weeks, making it my goal to bring these findings and continue advocating and the importance of the Latinx lifestyle and really seeing how the interviews with the Voces de Canal see the community assets. My mission after graduation is to keep advocating and for the emphasis on housing and the Latinx lifestyle within the communities, and hope to inspire other students going through their journey at Dominican and in service learning, the importance of bringing social justice and integrating that in our education with the wisdom and knowledge from the communities we are with. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Next up is Brittney.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brittney Gutierrez, and I'm a sophomore, one nursing major and minor in community action and social change. This semester, I was part of Professor Emily Wu's CAS 3405 community engaged research method, and I had the great opportunity to work with Voces del Canal. Voces del Canal is an organization that advocates for participation from members of the canal and advocates for change that is needed in the canal. This semester, while working with them in the Photo Voice project that took place, it advocated for increased lighting in the community. During the semester, we would meet with Voces del Canal, other Dominican students, and Professor Jennifer Loco, who was the supervisor of the project. We met every Wednesday at the Pickweed Park Community Center to discuss the next steps of the project, work on the posters, conducting interviews, and collecting data. We had a graduate student from Berkeley come over and help us with creating a survey that collected data in which community members thought needed more lighting in the area. And members of Voces del Canal actually had been working on this project since last September. So it's a project that has been dedicated a lot of work, and seeing it and being able to be a part of it was truly rewarding because I got to see their strong work pay off, especially because these are individuals who have many challenges in their everyday lives, from facing systemic oppression, marginalization, coming from backgrounds of low income, poverty, unhealthy living conditions. A lot of these individuals have faced things that are really sad and have really sad stories that portray their challenges and difficulties. Yet within those difficulties, there are plenty of good assets that are found within these individuals in the community as a whole. For example, they have self-agency, self-advocacy, humility, are hardworking, and unity that they're able to find within each other from the same community. These assets give them the power to continue to stand up for themselves, their community, their people, and eventually is what leads them to make a change, as we're able to see with the members of Voces del Canal. With this project, this past Monday, they presented their project to the city council and were able to bring and share their stories to the city of San Rafael and ask for something to be done about what is currently happening for many members in the community. This includes fear of going out at night, not being able to feel safe, secured in the community. It really affects the individuals on so many levels, not being able to maintain a good health, especially the children. The children are forced to stay in their apartments, which are usually overcrowded. This affects their mental health and decreases the quality of life that they're able to have. This is able to show that despite the challenges and issues that so many of these individuals face, they're still able to hold the power within themselves and stand up for themselves and ask for something to be done. Having little to no English, they went and presented to the city council in Spanish. And to me, this is truly remarkable and is what social justice is all about, standing up for what you believe is right despite the many challenges that are happening around you. Mind you, these individuals have really busy lives. They work full time, sometimes extra hours, have families to attend, yet they find the need in themselves to do more for their community and really put in the time and effort to do that. So I feel really proud of Voces del Canal for being able to do this, especially also as a resident from the canal and as someone who has been living here my whole life. It's incredible to see how members in the community unite. And I'm really grateful to Dominican, the service learning team, and especially Voces del Canal for allowing us Dominican students to be a part of this project. And yeah, that has been my experience working with Voces del Canal. And currently the city is actually also working on ways to implement the lighting in the canal, and that was only possible because of their hard work. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Brittney. Our next speaker will be Katherine.
Hello, my name is Katherine Santos. I am a sophomore and nursing major who took community engaged art, which is an amazing honors course offered here at Dominican, directed by Professor Lynn Sondag. We worked with next generation scholars and Voces del Canal on a public campaign to advocate for increased street lighting and ultimately a safer community, allowing families and community members to feel secure when walking even after the sun sets. We collaborated with them by using the power of art to advocate for the city to implement street lighting. Our community partners were able to give us insight, testimonies, and their roles of support that had prompted us to get a clear vision of what exactly we were fighting for. And here we're able to see all of our classmates' artwork. Our class had instructed yard signs with a powerful message of lighting the beauty of the canal. Each component of the yard sign was handcrafted with adhesive vinyl that represented what canal meant to us and why it is important to ensure their safety. And we had also collaborated with our wonderful next generation scholars, and they are middle school students who attended our class every Wednesday to create artwork for announcement cards and t-shirts. These pieces helped us get the word out about Voces del Canal's group coming to the meeting of the City of San Rafael's council members. The cards announced the meeting and gave us the details on how the public can attend, and the t-shirts were made for the Voces de Canal members to wear at the meeting. And we lifted and acknowledged community barriers by realizing that we are a part of this community here, and we're able to enable more equitable opportunities for all. As for our specific class, community engaged art, it encompasses solidarity and our duty as a steward of the earth to call to action. Our artwork was inspired by cultural assets of the people here at the canal, and it is intended to portray illuminating the beauty of the canal and to help it shine. Our art projects are advocating for a better environment, safety, and most importantly, the development of these children, the next generation, to stand up to make an impact. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Katherine. And next up, we have Therese-Claire.
Hello, everyone. My name is Therese Guerzon. I am a Junior 1 nursing major and CASC minor, and I'm currently taking healthcare ethics with Professor Lindsay Dean. One major shift I noticed over the course of this semester was the attitude and mindset I had toward this class. After wrapping up my CASC minor last school year, I thought I didn't have to take any service learning classes anymore, but coming into my junior semester, I was happily surprised that I was able to take one that was directly applicable to my nursing studies and fit into my hectic schedule. I completed my service learning in semesters prior at Canal Alliance's UP program. Fortunately, not one semester did I change to a different community partner, so I was able to build stronger connections with the same students each time I went. This semester, I went to St. Mary's Dignity Health Hospital in San Francisco for my med-surg clinical rotation and also to fulfill my community engagement requirement. It was quite difficult for me to take field notes on all the key moments I experienced while shadowing the nurses. Every clinical session felt like I had a whirlwind of information I need to file away in my brain and apply to my next meeting. However, I gained the most clarity on my purpose as a future nurse and my role as a moral agent when I sat down and set aside time to document my field notes on GivePulse. Now that my semester is coming to a close, it was quite a unique experience for me to reflect with a different critical lens compared to most of my peers. I felt that I always had my past semester knowledge of CASC and or community learning in the back of my mind at all times, whether it was incorporating concepts of Remen's helping, fixing, or serving in class discussions, reflecting on how my own intersectionality affects my interactions with my patients, or even how my final research topic for my community engaged research method class with Professor Jennifer Lucko inspired my final paper for healthcare ethics. It was energizing for me to merge and centralize all of the learning into the coursework. And if I were to distill 2.5 years of service learning into one big takeaway, it would be social responsibility. Throughout the semester, Professor Dean challenged us to think more critically about how our role as moral agents is defined when responding to specific ethical concepts. Moving forward, it's my duty as a moral agent and a future healthcare professional to continue educating myself and find ways to break cycles of oppression, injustice, powerlessness, and violence beyond my education here at Dominican. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Therese. And our last speaker from our Canal Partners is Brittney.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brittney. I'm currently a senior at Dominican, majoring in social justice and minoring in psychology, religion, and philosophy. I've been working with Emily Wu, my senior capstone class. So just a little bit of background on me. I got to Dominican my sophomore year of college, and I got into the social justice program. And I was pretty excited. I was transferring in. Coming in, I thought I was pretty well aware of what was going on in the world. I read and watched the news, read postings on social media, and basically I kind of thought I was woke. For those who don't know what being woke is, it's basically when you're well aware or informed about issues going on surrounding marginalized communities. It wasn't until I started working with Canal Alliance that I realized I wasn't as woke as I thought. Working with the Latinx community not only opened my eyes, but opened my mind to a whole new world, a world they were living in that I didn't even realize was so different from mine. Working with Canal Alliance has allowed me to better understand certain social issues. Working on my capstone project, I've been focusing on certain topics, and one of them being the job market. So just an example, a lot of the students that I've worked alongside with at Canal Alliance have to work less desirable jobs just because they face inequality, and that's because color of their skin, prejudice against their first language, and are just basically looked down upon in society. Many, if not all of these students have to work in different types of weather conditions. And something I had shared on my Give Pulse that I thought I'd share was that during one of the classes, the teacher had warm-up questions. And one of the warm-up questions was, how do you deal with warm weather? And students started to share their answers. And then the teacher had a follow-up question, is anybody able to leave work early? And this was during a time period when there had been a couple of hot days and people were leaving work early, people were leaving school early, and the students just started to laugh. And I was sitting there awkwardly like, haha, like they just started to share that they work no matter what the weather conditions are. A lot of these students work directly under the sun. They might not love it, but they just get it done. These students, a lot of them don't get many days off to begin with. And on top of that, they work in sometimes what's considered horrible working conditions. But if you ask any of them about it, they don't complain. This whole situation, just reflecting on it, has made me more aware of my own privilege and recognized the resilience of each and every single student. Throughout my time working with the students, they had opened up my world by inspiring me to be a more compassionate individual. And, you know, as a graduating senior, I actually just wanted to take a second to thank Canal Alliance for allowing me to be a part of an experience of a lifetime and the memories that come along with that. And also just thank you to the Service Learning Program for pointing me in their direction.
Thank you so much, Brittney. And next up, we're going to have our education partners. So we'll have students who completed their service learning at Coleman Elementary, Benicia Valley School, and Multicultural Center of Marin. So first up is Brianna.
My name is Brianna. I'm currently a freshman at Dominican University. I'm a biology major. During my time at Coleman, I've learned how to use Coleman Library Database and a little bit of the National Library Database. And it never ceases to amaze me how many books there are in the world. Miss Sonnet, who has been my mentor, has taught me a lot about patience and what it means to allow the children to have space to imagine. I'm just going to share my screen really quickly. You guys can see a picture of me, Malia, and first grade class, if I'm correct. Miss Sonnet is incredibly calm during situations where the kids would have driven anyone else insane, and it's almost like she has a sixth sense. She's taught me how to de-escalate situations where the kids are too energetic to listen, as well as how to keep the kids interested in what you're reading them. And a moment that really marked my experience at Coleman was when a kindergarten class had come in and one of the students didn't really read English yet. And at first I thought to myself, well, maybe I should start with an easier level book so he can enjoy it better. But when the time came to pick out books, he immediately gravitated to the thickest book he could find. And it was about automobiles throughout history. I got closer to him to see if he would be able to read it or if he would need my help. But to my surprise, he saw me and started teaching me about the cars he was seeing in the book. And I was just baffled by the fact that he was able to understand the content of the book just by looking through the pictures. I came to the realization that to him, those pictures were more valuable than the text. And despite the fact that he couldn't read it all, he was able to teach me things that I didn't know because he'd had the experience of seeing these cars in person before. Through his experience, he was able to show me how certain cars sounded or moved, which was information that I could not have derived from a book. A lot of the time, I noticed that people's abilities are questioned based on age or language barriers, but he showed me that these barriers that he's been taught to believe meant nothing to him. It makes me think back to an article we read in my effective communication class where Riemann talks about helping, fixing, or serving, and she says, serving is different from fixing. When I fix a person, I perceive them as broken, and their brokenness requires me to act. When I fix, I do not see the wholeness in the other person or trust the integrity of the life in them. When I serve, I see and trust that wholeness. It is what I am responding to and collaborating with. And for me, after this interaction with this boy, I felt that he had taught me what it means to truly be of service to someone. And I think that was one of my biggest takeaways from my time at Coleman because he helped me understand what it means to see someone as equal. At first, it may have seemed like he had nothing to offer me because I'm older or have more experience, but he was giving me a different perspective. And by allowing him to have the space to become the teacher, he learned more than he would have as the student. I felt that it was super important me to learn how to serve because one day I want to be able to work in a pediatric hospital setting. And if I want to connect with my patients on a deeper level, then I have to know how to acknowledge them. My time at Coleman has been really rewarding. Miss Sonnet and the students have taught me so much. And I just thank them for allowing me to be part of the Coleman family. Thank you.
Thank you, Brianna. Next up, we have Yordi.
Hi, everybody. My name is Yordi Garcia. I'm currently fifth year psychology major. The service learning class that I'm taking is effective communication 2 with Professor Davis. Today, I would like to read a short reflection paper that reflects on my experience being an international student and serving at Benicia Valley Middle School. I came to the United States 4 years ago, and being an international student was not easy for me as I had to adapt to a new language, culture, and lifestyle. The most difficult barrier that I had to face when I moved here was definitely learning English and adapting to a new school system. But thanks to the support and motivation that I received from my community, I was able to overcome these barriers. A large part of who I am today comes thanks to my community. Now that I have the opportunity to give back to my community, I would like to contribute to making a difference in the life of others. I'm currently serving at Benicia Valley Middle School, which is located near San Rafael. The majority of students from this school are Latino students, and many of the students can speak more than one language. Many of the students also come from low-income families who did not receive an education beyond elementary school. Being able to work with a group of students throughout the semester, I was able to identify a challenge that students are facing in their education. The challenge that I identify is that many students don't have the support and help with their academic assignments when they are outside of school. Even though the school offers an after-school program, the number of students is still limited. Many of the students who don't have the support and help outside of school tend to just not do their homework, which affects their grades negatively. Also, some students' parents are unable to help their children due to their level of education. I think the best ways to address these specific issues is by having more tutors at school, extending the capacity number of students in the afternoon school program, and getting more college students to participate. Being able to work with a group of students during this semester, I noticed a big improvement academically. The students also felt more confident with themselves when doing classwork and also more engaged in learning. I'm really proud of the students that I served this semester because I know that they put a lot of effort and dedication to improve their confidence and academic skills. Helping a group of students this semester made me realize that we can all make a difference in the lives of others. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. And then I think we might actually have some students from Benicia Valley on this. Tracy, do you want to say anything, or do they want to say hello?
I think it would be a really good idea if the kids themselves maybe give you just a little perspective from them. We'll let David just speak for everybody because they're all here. Okay, so David, tell them what they did well, what they did, what we need to work on for next year. Okay, go.
What I think everyone can work on next year is on helping other kids that need help more than us, because this is what we do in our community, and everyone who's here right now with us or in this camera, I think we can all make a difference for our school, Benicia Valley.
We've never had this, so this is wonderful.
Gigi wants to talk.
I think what you guys did well is teaching us how important school is and how you can really learn and focus on things in school, and then after you can grow by just learning from one thing. You can express so many things and help you in so many other ways. But also what David said, there's also other people that need help, and I think we should have a bigger group to help teach more children at a faster time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, students and Tracy from Benicia Valley. Next up, we have Andrew, who's going to talk about his experience.
Hello. My name is Andrew Hom. I'm currently a freshman nursing major and a part of Ms. Gomez's effective communication service learning class. And firstly, thank you, Ms. Langley and her class for attending this event. I'm sure it means a lot to everyone here. The service learning volunteer work that I've been given the opportunity of doing has really taught me a lot about helping others and seeing what I can do, or what I can learn from others and myself. I'm relatively new to the area in general, so this volunteering opportunity has really built up my connection with Marin as a whole. Essentially, engaging with Benicia Valley School helped me understand the necessity and value of their service to community. You can never have enough hands just helping the students learn and seeing more of what they can do. So for example, the classroom where I volunteered was full of about 20-something middle schoolers with all different kinds of proficiencies. And sometimes maybe they're struggling, maybe they're exceeding, and sometimes they might even have a language barrier. But thankfully, they were always happy and engaged and ready to just do what they do best. And it's always inspiring, regardless, to see how they can grow and surpass any expectations I might have. And regardless of how they are doing, I found that I could always learn a little bit from each student and develop my own perspective in life. And essentially, teaching is difficult, and focusing on every kid at once would be impossible, which really emphasizes how much what we can do helps. I'm grateful for the service learning opportunity that we've been given because it's not only for the students, it's also for us just seeing what we can do. And this program lets me see how important it is to do the job that we do, because whether it be in a classroom, library, donation center, any of the other sites, and I'm grateful for the mentorship that I have from Ms. Langley and her guidance that lets me develop how I serve others. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. And last up, we have Saul.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Saul Valle. I'm a sophomore and a social justice major. I have 2 service learning classes this semester with Dr. Jocelyn Gomez and Dr. Emily Wu. And I continued my partnership with the Multicultural Center this semester. More specifically, their youth program, Presente. I'm mentored by Renee and then Diango as well. I'm going to be starting a full-time job with them this summer. I'm going to be shadowing and learning to see what it's about and what they do. And I wanted to give just a brief overview of what they do. They're a fellowship program that offers scholarships to students up to $1,000 per semester that a student completes. They work with specifically Latina youth, which is one of Marin's most underserved communities, and they value and promote things such as civic action, uplifting inner voices, and youth leadership skills. One of the things that I wanted to talk about that I learned with my engagement with my community partner this semester was understanding the concept of belonging, which means to have a voice in your community to be able to make societal change. And an impactful moment for me from my service learning course this semester was the first meeting I ever had with Presente back in the fall semester. And before every meeting, what we like to do is we get in a circle, we dim the lights, and we sing an ancient ritual song honoring one of the natural elements of this world. And I actually have an audio clip if Jenny would be so kind as to play it for all you guys. And so when I first started to be part of this ritual, I would try to understand what he was trying to say. But after it was over, he revealed to us that he wasn't saying actual words at all. It's just expression and emotion in those songs. And he tells us that you are much more than what you think you are. And it was my first time being in a kind of ritual like that. And so it really helped me understand the value of cultural heritage that Presente likes to hold. And I thought it was really relevant to share how this is good for my education and my future aspects for life, because I have aspirations to work in the nonprofit organization called Summer Search, which I was a student in high school, and I am now part of the alumni program in the secondary institution. And in short, I wanted to talk about how it's a national program that recruits marginalized high school students just like Presente to help them succeed in their future through transformational scholarship trips and weekly mentoring. And I hope to work for them as a mentor one day to give back to the amazing community that guided me and my 2 sisters to a higher path of higher education and success. And a term that I wanted to talk about that I felt like is relevant towards this is Nepantla, which means in-betweenness in the indigenous language Nahuatl of Mexico. And here's an excerpt from the article La Gente Sin Fronteras by Emily Chavero. It's a reference to the space in between 2 entities. For decades, we as Mexican Americans have tried to define something that has no real definition, our identity. This fight to put a label on what it means to belong to this community has placed borders around our spirits and alienating our own people from the Mexican American identity. There exists a people living in the in-between, the gray area between countries and cultures where the borders between languages and traditions are not blurred, not confused or undecided, but non-existent. These people referred to as Nepantleras are an important yet underestimated part of the Mexican American community and are transforming our identity in the United States. And I thought it was important to share that because that explains the people of the Canal area. These are people who came here because they were fleeing poverty, oppression, war, and any number of other traumatic events. The Canal area was first developed in the 1950s, and as a low-income housing area for new college graduates. It wasn't intended for families, but over time, waves of immigrants who ended up in Marin were attracted to the low-income housing and the low-wage service jobs in the area. The Canal has now become the most segregated neighborhood in the Bay Area, with over 90% of the population identifying as Latina. With this being said, I have done further research in past service learning classes, and I found that up until this semester, there was little to no ethnic studies classes offered in the nearby high schools, which I found to be a little bit off. And I think it's important to recognize how my community partner recognizes cultural wealth and hopes to help students be proud of their racial identity and heritage. Considering the mechanisms of othering that the Canal community has to face up to today, such as modern day segregation and gentrification, at least this group can find a sense of belonging within themselves and their heritage. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Saul, and thank you, Renee, for being on the call as well. Next up, we have our students who completed their service learning at Clean Slate, SPAR Center, Multicultural Center for Marin, and the Museum of the American Indians. And we can go to Emily.
Before I begin, I just want to say thank you to Jenny and everyone else who made this meeting possible. I also want to say thank you and good job to everyone who's presented today, and a huge thank you to all of our community partners that allow students like myself to work with and learn from all of you. So my name is Emily, and I am currently a junior biology major at Dominican. I just transferred to Dominican last semester. I'm also a CASC minor. So last semester, I took a service learning class with Laura Stivers, Ethics from the Margins, and that class really inspired me to pursue my CASC minor. And in that class, I worked with the Canal Alliance. This semester, I took another class with Laura called Ethics, Housing, and Homelessness, where we focused on people experiencing homelessness and all the issues that contribute to that. For my service learning, I worked with the SPAR Center, which is Marin's only nonprofit organization that is devoted to serving, supporting, and empowering LGBTQ members, and also supporting members of the community who live with HIV. For my service learning, we focus mainly on harm reduction. So every week I would go out to the Ritter Center and we would basically hand out supplies to people who were experiencing homelessness or substance abuse, basically making a safer environment for them to use. So harm reduction doesn't really focus on making people stop or quit their substance use, but more so focuses on making it safer for them to practice these things so they don't get like HIV and hepatitis and things like that. One of the issues that we really talked about in my ethics class was the idea that substance abuse is seen in a lens of what we call sin talk. And what sin talk is a criminalization approach, which is applied to a lot of people experiencing homelessness. So instead of providing them with resources, a lot of people experiencing homelessness usually are put into jail and things like that. And so I really enjoyed working with the SPAR Center because I learned a lot about harm reduction and also like ways that we can help members of the community who are experiencing substance abuse issues. From talking to people in my service learning, I've learned that it's really difficult. Like a lot of people are very willing to work on quitting substance use, but it's very difficult for them because the process of recovering is very difficult due to withdrawals and things like that, especially when people are experiencing homelessness, because housing that is stable and secure is very essential to the recovery process. So in our class, we focus a lot on thinking of ways that we can change structural barriers, especially like education, income, and affordable housing in Marin County. So I just really would like to thank the SPAR Center and Chris Brown, who was my mentor for this. I've learned a lot from my service, and I'm actually going to continue my work with the SPAR Center. Even after service learning, I'm going to be the HIV prevention intern there. So I'm going to be working mainly with the same population, and I'm going to be working on outreaching to the community and making sure that services and resources are provided to people who need it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Emily.
And next we have community partner Chris Brown from the SPAR Center.
I am Chris Brown. I'm the harm reduction manager from the SPAR Center. The Dominican students, they're terrific. You know, college students are terrific in a few ways, which can be really good. They tend to be curious. You know, their minds are kind of in that mode because they're learning every day. So they tend to be inquisitive and curious and ready to soak up knowledge. They're flexible about picking up new perspectives and things. That's been terrific. And the volunteers that we've gotten, I think, have largely been really good, smart, capable, responsible. I've really enjoyed working with them and really appreciated what they bring to the table as far as, being able to help our program accomplish its goals. One of the considerations that I've had has been, I guess, along the lines of community building. One of the aspects of substance use disorders is often a lack of connection with support systems and community. And so one of the things I've tried to do has been to look at this as, how do I connect people in this work? how can I get people to make a good human connection? So it's been useful to me to read some of these accounts and be able to kind of analyze like, okay, so how are the students seeing this work? How do the community members respond to, what we do for them, and what's the way to sort of get those to link up? Working with the students often enables me to bounce back into a perspective of not educational and useful naivete, somebody who has not yet been doing harm reduction work and going out into the homeless camps and things like that. Being able to do that kind of perspective resetting, I find useful. Being able to work with the students enables me to revisit that point of what was this like when I first started? I think doing harm reduction work is something that could be really useful and sort of skill developing and mind expanding for people who are interested in doing social work, who are interested in psychology, who are interested in substance use issues, nursing students. One of the things I like about it is the face-to-face with the clients. And I've noticed that a lot of people in working in sort of social work or health areas, a lot of the time there's this divide between people who kind of look at data and people who work with, and I've occasionally heard people say, oh God, it sounds really intense. And I've said, yeah, the intense stuff is also the really rewarding stuff. I've had a lot of clients thank me for what I consider just treating them with respect and courtesy and, listening to their stories a bit and seeing if I have anything useful to offer them and trying to figure out what it is they're going through with their substance use. And I think that skill of listening closely to what the client is saying is something that can serve anyone, social work, nursing, all of those.
Thank you so much. And then I think we have Augustus now, so if you want to say a few words.
Oh, okay, yeah, hi. Sorry that I joined late. I'm Augustus. I was doing my service learning with the Clean Slate program this semester. I spent some time with the Health and Human Services Department working under D'Angelo. That was an awesome experience, making phone calls to all the clients. And then I also switched over to the Public Defender's Office after a month at the HHS. One of the main things that I learned from my time service learning is that you can't make assumptions about the challenges that people face and the reasons that they might need to get some help putting food on the table or with other sort of programs. And who we become is ultimately a result of our circumstances that we're born into, and not everyone has that same starting point. It's important to keep that level of critical consciousness when you're helping people in the community and working with these programs.
His community partner D'Angelo is here if you'd like to say anything as well.
First of all, I want to thank all of the students that have participated this semester. Even if you weren't working directly with me, I just want to give a moment of gratitude for the efforts that you put forward and let you know that your efforts do really make an impact in the community. So I am with the Clean Slate and Health and Human Services for the County of Marin. This semester, I had the pleasure of working with Augustus and Bethany, and they were helping us out with our Clean Slate project. Just a little background on myself. I am a graduate of Dominican University, and I also hold the CAS minor. So I do understand everything that you have gone through this semester with the volunteering for the community partners. A little bit about the Clean Slate program. The Clean Slate program is designed to try and help people who have been involved in the criminal justice system and have completed all the requirements of their probation or their sentencing to be able to move forward in life. We try to help them remove barriers that are present towards trying to obtain employment or other things in their life by helping them get rid of that criminal record or having felonies reduced down to misdemeanors as best we possibly can. It's a program, it's free of charge. And this is the first year that we've actually done it. So Bethany and Augustus were kind of jumped in while we're still trying to formulate what everything will look like. And with the Clean Slate program, I have to give credit to the CAS program at Dominican because a lot of what I've learned from being a student at Dominican, I was able to apply as we were trying to do our outreach and create this, the different events that we're planning to have for the Clean Slate. Bethany and Augustus were really instrumental in helping us with reaching out to the clients that are involved in our programs, reminding them of different appointments that we had coming up for them, letting them know about the Clean Slate program, also letting them know about the event that we had coming up. We had our first one, I believe it was in March, if I have the date correct, or I'm sorry, February, and it was in Marin City. And we are planning to do additional events throughout Marin, and we're reaching out to some of the community partners that a lot of you have mentioned here today. So we are just started the process of reaching out to the Canal Alliance and the Multicultural Center here in Marin, because we want to do 2 events in San Rafael in the next upcoming months. But yeah, don't want to keep you all too long, but yeah, it's been great working with the program, and being a former student of Dominican. It's really valuable for me, and I think just to be able to offer this experience to anyone and be able to work back with the community and with the students. So thank you.
Thank you so much, D'Angelo. And next up, we have Jessica.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jessica Velasquez. I'm a psychology major, and I'm in my freshman year. And I'm with the Pole 1050 California for All, which is a civic action fellowship internship. And I have been working with the Multicultural Center of Marin and their food pantry early every Saturday morning. My supervisor, Adrian, has made me feel welcomed in this capacity. There are about 10 to 15 volunteers each week. Some can be adults or teenagers in high school in Marin County, and San Rafael High School or Tierra Linda. And we serve about 110 to 120 people each week. Latinx people work every day from morning to night, but get low wages, and they sometimes can't afford things they need. Some are even employed not having a job because of the pandemic or even before it starting. According to ACS, from 2013 to 2017, with the 5-year estimate, there are about 4.3% Latinx who are employed in comparison to white people at 3.9% in Marin County. This takes a huge toll on the Latinx community because some don't have enough money to spend on food while also trying to budget for really expensive rent. It brings me joy knowing that I can help my Latinx community by passing out much needed food every week to folks who receive it graciously. The Multicultural Center of Marin also does CCRC, which is Canal Community Resilience Council, where people from the canal can advocate and they can be heard about the challenges going on in the community. And this happens on Zoom once a month on a Wednesday. I also helped out by doing the Discordia Marsh project, which is to restore the habitat of the marsh and improve the leaf and improve a public trail located next to Pickweed Park and what we know as the Bay. The project will include restoring an eroded section of the existing tidal marsh, opening the marsh with leaves to tidal action, stabilizing and improving a section of the degraded leaf to increase flood protection for the community and provide a transitional habitat zone for wildlife and flood control. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessica. And our last student speaker is Cassie.
Hi, I'm Cassie. I am currently a junior. I'm double majoring in business and graphic design, and I had the opportunity to do service learning at the Museum of the American Indian. This semester, I took liberation theology class, where we spent the semester learning about the principles of liberation theology through readings, articles, and documentaries. It is essentially a religious approach towards aiding the poor, oppressed, and marginalized communities by reflecting on our own situations and being able to apply ourselves, see through the lens of the oppressed in order to support them and ultimately help them live a more fulfilling life. In the novel we read in class, Liberation Theology by Robert Brown, he made an analogy that represented the gap between the privileged and the oppressed. He explained that where we stand is determined not only what we see, but even more importantly, what we want. So if someone was standing on top of a mountain, they have an entire view of the sea where they could spot a ship from far away, but someone who is standing behind the mountain would be unable to see it. The view from the top of this mountain may sound like a better view, but the majority of society actually sees it from below. The people who are behind the mountain are exposed to history and the reality of different levels of privilege. It may seem more inclusive to be atop the mountain, but that's where privilege stands and where disappointment and failure are present because they would be unsatisfied with the view from below. Those who stand behind the mountain are likely to be unsatisfied because they are hit with discrimination and exclusivity and deserve more and a better view. The indigenous would stand behind the mountain in this analogy. Over time, their relationship with their land and culture is getting taken away from them. The purpose of the museum in Novato is to uplift, support, and bring more visibility to the indigenous. The most important thing we can do to bring more awareness to the decline of the Native Americans is to educate ourselves, understand and respect their culture, and learn about what land you live on. A tradition that is worth all of you trying is to see what indigenous land you live on, because most of California belongs to the natives. Dominican University actually occupies the land of the Coast Miwok people, and so it is important to honor the tribe and bring awareness to who used to belong on the land that we know now. After this semester, I have learned a lot about the indigenous by attending tours, listening to personal stories from the indigenous, and actually participating in some of their traditions and practices. It is important, as I am not indigenous, to act to not act as a helper, but become an ally for them by learning as much as I can, applying myself, and sharing with others. The more we do this, we can bridge the gap between the people who stand on top of the mountain and those who stand behind it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cassie. Thank you to all of our students and amazing community partners who spoke today. And thank you for coming and joining us. Have a great rest of your day.